So yeah, so so far we've looked at charcoals, we've looked at inks, we've covered quite a lot of ground, as I've said on the website. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to go over a couple of things. Then I'll go over the noses and the mouths and things. And the other thing I wanted to talk about as well is a little bit is contouring and using line to help show the shape of things as well, to help illustrate how the form of things appear within a picture too. So I'm going to show you some of those things in a few minutes. I've put on the wall just over here, I've put a couple of diagrams of things that I'm going to go through in just a second. We've got the lips and we've got nose and lips diagram. I'm going to be looking particularly at this one just here because it's quite good. It shows how to structure drawing noses and lips and things. So particularly there's this idea of using a circle to help you, because a lot of the time you've got this almost like spherical or spherical sort of shape that makes up the shape of the end of the nose and the nostrils. And then if we look down on the lips here and on these diagrams, we can see that ellipses and circles have been used to help you map out the actual shape of the lips and the noses as well. And then just over here I've got another little drawing that I found, and somebody mentioned last week about why is it so dark around these areas and things. It's because obviously it goes in towards the eyes around this side. You've got light coming down from on this drawing anyway, from the left hand side, so you've got a nice strong shadow cast over on the right hand side there, and then underneath the nose. And you can see on this drawing, actually you can see where this kind of spherical kind of idea has been used to help you understand a little bit about how those things are shaded and drawn and illustrated and things. So last week, I don't think it was in our lesson, I drew this lovely fella just here. I did him with ink washes, starting off once it was drawn out, starting off with very pale ink washes and then building up gradually, getting slightly darker until we got right down to the dark tones as well. Bless you. We're getting right down to the dark tones as well. Now what I've done with this particular drawing is I've worked back over it with pen to sort of illustrate my point about contouring a little bit, and as you know, I really like doing that sort of thing anyway. Last week I did a drawing of this other actor as well, this lovely fellow. So I might do a little bit on him, but I'm thinking I've got a nice photograph of Jeremy Irons that I might use this lesson to work on. Okay, so we'll go over to my desk and I'll show you a few images of what I've worked on so far. So I've used the diagrams that we talked about just a minute ago. Oops, there's my pencil. Excuse me. No, it's gone. It's gone underneath everything. So I used this. I used the diagram that I showed you to help me draw out and illustrate the shape and how those shapes and those construction lines end up being a 3D kind of effect drawing, or creating the illusion of the 3D effect with a pencil. So I'm going to do another one of those in a minute, and then after that I did this one, and you can see how lines have been used and they go around, or they contour the shape of the nose and the lips by going in the direction of the form itself. And a really good way of illustrating that is to draw like a shape and then a line through the middle, and then from that point doing these kind of curved lines which come back almost to the point where you started, and that gives you an idea of a little bit of how contouring actually works. One video I saw recently, because I've been doing this a little bit at school as well, is somebody actually gets hold of an apple and draws lines around an apple to illustrate the idea of contouring to show the form of an object as well. And that's pretty much, obviously in much more detail, what I've been doing here with these noses. And you can see how the lines kind of go down, where the lips, the Cupid's bow and things comes up, and the sphere, how the sphere goes around the kind of, or the lines go around the sphere on the end of the nose there. Okay, so I'm gonna draw one of these now to sort of just go through it a little bit, and then you may want to have a go at this, or just bear it in mind when it comes to doing your own sort of work in a few minutes. Okay, so I'll go over to the other desktop because I've got all the pictures out over here for you to see. So I'll get another pencil then, because that one's flown away and gone underneath something. So we've got a sheet of paper. So we're starting off with a sphere. Now when I draw these spheres, I do them very, very loosely. And the two spheres either side for the nostrils, like this. And then a line through the middle, I found out helps a little bit as well. And you can see that on the diagram just here. I'll come in a little bit closer actually if I can. Oh, that's as close as I can get, so I'll just move over a little bit. Okay, so once we've got that, we can start then working on adding some of the other shapes in there. So I'm just going to use my spheres to help me start mapping out where the sides of the nostrils are going to go, and then the holes themselves. And remember to work quite lightly to begin with, because you may of course find that you need to change things as you're going along. And then this line here is almost like contouring, because it's showing the shape of the nose as it goes around the ball shape or the sphere shape at the top there. So these lines just give you a good way of mapping out the form of things. They're construction lines basically. Now I'm not saying you use this all the time, but understanding how these things can help you, certainly if you're just sketching out somebody's nose, is going to be really helpful in the long run, just to understand these things. On the diagram as well, it's slightly hidden there, you can see just at the top there's these little lines that curve around as well here, which are only an indication, but they're also helping you to contour the nose and things too. So I'll just bring that back down again, stick it over here, just get rid of that one, put him over there for a minute. So once you've got all that kind of detail in there, you can then start, of course, to add some shading and things. I'm just going to finish off first. So again, there's another contour line which goes just around the top of the nose and down the other side. Now these will just help you to understand where things are and where the contours of the face go. So once you actually start shading, a lot of these lines will either disappear or need to be removed. But it does help you to plan things. And then we'll go down here to the Cupid's bow, and just at this point you can see that there's actually three smaller spheres or circles which slightly overlap each other, and this is quite useful because it will help you find where the center of the mouth is going to be. So it goes down and up the other side of the sphere. So you see one sphere there, one sphere there, one above. So my opening of my mouth can go in there and then come down the other side, and then the top of the mouth comes off of the top of the sphere there, and then we've got this kind of bump along the side. Now, regarding how far you go out, of course, if you remember, we talked about the inside, the extremities of the mouth would be on the inside of the pupil. We haven't actually got that at the moment because we're just doing a straight drawing, but that's something to remember, to draw a line straight down from the inside of the pupil, and that will give you an idea of the width. Now, the bottom of the lips, you see it goes in just here where those two circles are, and then comes back around the edge of the bottom sphere and back to the other sides of the lips. So now we've got something that resembles what we're after, and you can, I think these spheres actually help you to understand the form of the lips as well. Certainly the lips are rounded, so if we're drawing contour lines on there, you can see that I'm doing that now. And because we've got wrinkles on lips normally, you can see it actually helps you to understand the form again. Like that. So we're starting to get that in, and then we can start adding some tone into the nose. So the underside of the nose is going to be a bit darker. Remembering, of course, this sphere will change the way the shadows go around the bottom there. So if we imagine the light's coming from the top and hitting sort of the top of the nose, or the sphere that we put in the middle there, and it's going to go around the bottom, and we'll have a bit of shadow down here too. And then if I shade in the nostrils a little bit darker, you can already see that the form is taking shape a little bit more. Okay, and then if there's more light on this side, we're going to have lines going down in this direction and off onto the cheeks. And obviously we've got two spheres either side, which is the old nostrils too. I did have a nose. So I've got this picture of a nose and lips here, which you can, it's quite useful to have to help you work out where things are going to go as far as shadow. So I'm going to have a bit down this side. There will be shadow on this side even if the light's coming down. And then we can go around the top of the nose, so you can see how the lines, or the direction at least, of the shading, because it does count for whatever material you're using. If you do directional shading or painting or anything like that, it's going to help express or explain the form of something if you use this kind of idea of contouring to start illustrating that a little bit. So if the light's coming down from here, we're also going to have a bit more shadow underneath the nose, just there, and a bit more around the bottom. And there might even be some, which there is on this photo, a little bit on the top too. Make it darker on this side now. There's a bit darker on the bridge of the nose because the bone actually creates much more of an angle down there. And then we can also do lines going the other way too. So I've actually done here, I've been talking about contouring at the same time as I was going to do that in a separate drawing. I think I've covered it now. I'll do another one in a minute with a pen. So there we go. So we've got the form and shape of a nose just there. And then if we come down to the bottom here, usually the top lip, as I said before, the top lip is usually a little bit darker than the bottom one. So you could start by adding a general sort of tone over that top lip. Usually the opening of the mouth is a little bit darker, because there's not as much light getting in there, of course. So we go get that a bit darker in there. And this side of the face, because of the nose being in the way, will also be darker. So we're going to make the lips a little bit darker on this side too. There we go. And we can add some of these lines. If we look underneath his lips, his lips just here, you can see that you've got a shadow cast from the bottom lip too, and there's some nice highlights in there. So let's put some more contouring in. Corners of the mouth might be slightly darker as well, because it tends to turn in as it gets in there. And then some shadows beneath that too. So I could probably go a lot further with the shading as well here and push it a bit further. And obviously there's going to be a bit more of a shadow on this side of the nose as well. Here. If we look on here, we've got the Cupid's bow sort of department. It's a bit darker. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea of how to draw these things. I'll leave the diagram on here. Now, if you're drawing a pair of lips at an angle as well, for example, here we go, we've got some on this sheet of paper. It is a case of changing how you do your construction lines a little bit, of course. So I'll just do a quick pair of lips at a slightly different angle using this sheet. So I think I've put this on the website as well, so you should be able to find that there. So we've got a curved sort of a line. Let's just move it over. We've got a curved line here. Now obviously we're not going straight in the middle there, we're going slightly to the right in this case, with a little bit of a curve on it, and that just helps us sort of work out the dimensions once more. And then we're going to put the Cupid's bow in there, and this shape will obviously be more squashed or stunted or in perspective, if you like, over here, and the same for the other side. And then obviously this side is going to be longer again. And when you're working this out on an actual face, of course, you can use measurements, which is what I often do, is I look up to see where it leads to, if you see what I'm saying. So obviously you're looking at, I usually use the eyes to help me measure that, that little bit there. So then you've got a pair of lips at a slightly different angle, and you can do the contouring when you're adding the shading. You could do this with inks as well. In fact, I did do that a little bit in one of my demonstrations where I when I put the hair in, I use the direction of the hair to help me with the contouring of the see, that's that needs a lot of work, that one. But there you go. So and then of course we've got other pairs of lips just over here as well. Obviously all lips and things come in different shapes and sizes and forms, so this kind of gives you an idea of how that might work for a different pair of lips as well. On here you've got the circles more on the extremities or the sides of the lips just there. And it does help you just sort of visualize the form of things. And this is one which I've just shown you already that shows a bit more of that tone of shadow. You can see the shadow just underneath on the right of the nose and around the eyes, which we were just talking about. And of course, if we look right on the edge of the nose on this one, look, you can see the lines are going in the direction of the form of the nose as well, and the same here, look, around the eyes. So the lines, the shading should follow that sort of idea. Get a bit closer to the form that we're looking for. All right, so the other one that I did then, which is just here, I kind of exaggerated the lines on here and I went a bit further with the shading, so it's quite dark and things too, but you can see, as I've said, how the idea of form can be illustrated using contouring, which is what that's called. Okay, now before I stop, I'm just going to show you the illustration that I did and what I did to it last night. So I don't think this was entirely necessary for me to do this, but what I did essentially is I thought, just to illustrate what I've been talking about. So we've got this picture of Joaquin Phoenix, I think his name is. So we've got this picture here, and what I did is I worked back over the top using cross hatching, using line, and then I used a little bit of white pen. It's a little bit dark actually, the screen. Let's just see if I can get a bit more light on it. Not too much, but you can see just a little bit there, some of the lines and cross hatching that I've included on the face, and I've even used a bit of texturing with a pen to stipple in some of the dimples on the skin and things, and then I used a white pen to bring out some of the grey hair on his beard as well. It's a shame you can't quite see it actually, because there's quite a lot of detail and lining going on there. I even went over some of the dark areas and used lines to show the shape of the hair too. Okay, so that concludes that bit. What I'll also do, because I think somebody mentioned ears last week, I'm going to draw, I'll draw an ear on my sheet as well, so that you can have a look at how I do an ear. But it's a very similar sort of process, although I think ears are more about the shapes and things, and then getting really sharp tone between the highlighted areas where the light's catching them and the dark areas. I've actually got an ear on here, haven't I? So let me have a quick look at that one. So there's an ear just there. Oop, not that one. Got too much on here. So again, look, you can see on this one actually it does illustrate contouring quite well. Again, if you look on the edges of the ear, you can just about see where some lines have been going around the shape of the ear. But what my point was there, that you've got some very distinctive shapes and things on ears, so you've got very strong dark shading against much lighter areas, which helps add that contrast, and that instant contrast between the dark and the light areas really helps to pick out the sharp curves and forms of the ears themselves. But I'll do a little drawing of that in a few minutes when everyone's started. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to continue working on some of the stuff that we were looking at last week. Okay, so if you've got an illustration you're working on, then go for that one and continue with that. If you want to do something completely new, then also go for that too. There's plenty of photos, I think, still on the website for you to use. And I'll be doing a couple more of these little bits of demos and things for you. Okay?
Can you do an open mouth?
Yeah, I could do an open mouth. I'll see if I'll find a picture and I'll do one of those as well for you.
Jamie, are you intending that we're going to start working in colour before the end of this session? Yeah, not today, but this term.
Yeah. I was going to say actually, next week we'll start working with some paints, some acrylics. So if you could bring those along, we'll probably start with 1 or 2 colours to begin with the acrylics, and then we'll work towards looking at skin tones and things like that as well. That right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Jamie, did you say that those worksheets are on your website?
Yeah. If you go to my website, I posted a lot of these little bits and there's some more actually as well. There's not just those ones. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you check that out, then you can bring those up on your own screen. But I'll leave them up on this one as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions at this point?
It's me. Jamie?
Yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
First, I had a phone call last week from Prima in India.
Oh, yeah. How is she?
Very well. Yeah, they're both very, very well. For those that don't know, she got stuck in India.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been home to her house in Rawns for over a year.
Yeah.
But she's well. They're coping, and she said to pass everybody that knows her love, and she would love to join the session, but she can't seem to put money into your account from India.
Oh, yeah.
That was the problem. So anyway, but I just said I'd pass on her regards to everybody that knows Prima.
Oh, I'll get in touch with her then. Yeah, because I do know a way of doing that actually, without it costing anything.
She'd be thrilled on that, because she says she misses everybody. She's missing her art classes, etc., etc.
Oh, okay.
And, just to let you know, as you know, I was a bit incapacitated last week, so I went totally off piste. I had to do everything on my lap.
Yeah.
And I couldn't obviously use any inks or anything like that. So I've done that.
Oh, hang on.
I thought I'd make it bit darker with a little bit of pen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because that's what it's supposed to look like.
Oh, an artwork. Yes. Brilliant.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, well done.
Watercolour and pencil, and shaded it in with pencil first, and then did the watercolour, which I blended with my finger.
bit of mixed media. Yeah. That's great.
I just thought I'd go over with a bit of pen now. So
yeah.
See what that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks for showing us, and keep going. What you can do, if you want to have a recap on what we did last week, if you still wanted to try it out.
I did listen last week. I was.
Yeah, I know. But if anyone wants to have a recap, I have put a video on the website as well that you can re-watch. I think the last bit where I'm actually doing the painting, I've speeded up a little bit as well, just so that you can watch it a bit quicker, because it is like nearly 2 hours long otherwise, obviously. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right, pleasure.
Jamie.
Yeah.
What I've done is I really enjoyed doing the. Oh, he's really good. That's Roger Allen.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
So I've taken a photocopy of him.
Yeah.
What I've done so far.
Yeah.
And I thought about working on him to start with.
Yeah.
On the copy, just to get this feeling of contour and everything.
Absolutely.
I wanted to do a little bit more.
Oh, with the inks. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
a good idea. I often say that, if you're a bit kind of like, oh, I don't want to ruin my drawing and stuff, the best thing to do, and we do this at school a lot, is to make a photocopy. Then you've got no worries because you've got the original. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
you were using pencils for the extra shading.
What, the one I was just doing? Yeah, I was, but when I did this one, I was using a biro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's black and it works very well over the top of the ink. I was doing that, so it worked very well over your photocopy. But you know, you can always use like a black pencil or a really soft pencil over the top. That would work really well. Yeah. Okay.
Hey.
Jamie, a simple question. I'm having difficulty printing portraits off Pinterest. Is there an easy way of doing it?
Right. Okay. What you can do, just brighten myself up. What you can do is when you find a picture on Pinterest, okay, you right click on the picture, okay, and then when you right click on the picture, it usually comes up with something with a list of things, and you can click save as, and then save it to your desktop or somewhere you can find it.
Rather than a phone. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you've done that, of course, you can right click on it again when it's on your desktop or in your folder, and then just click print and send it to your printer.
Just make sure I use desktop. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some people do set their phones up to be connected by Wi-Fi to their printer as well, but obviously that's not a. I mean, I've never done that, but my daughter has, and printed multiple things out while I'm doing other things. So it is possible to do it that way, but desktop is certainly by far the easiest option for getting your pictures and things.
Jamie,
Yeah.
what I do is I left click on the image and copy image, and then I put it into a Word document.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I can save it under a name, but then if you right click on that on the Word document, you can get picture format, so then you can fiddle around with it.
Yeah, you can adjust the size and stuff, can't you? Yeah, yeah.
And it will, with the picture format, you can get lots of different contrasts as well.
Yeah, in Word, you can do that in Word. I think if anyone hasn't got Microsoft Word, you can actually use it online as well. You know, you don't need to buy it or anything. You can actually log on to the Microsoft website, find Word, and then get a login, and then you can use it online.
If we are students, I don't know if it applies to this class, but students can get quite a very good rate.
Yeah.
For Word, for Microsoft. You sort of prove you're a student, and you usually get it for about 2 years at a very, very cheap price.
Yeah. So there are obviously pricing options and things too. So it's worth looking into, definitely. The other option, of course, is Google has their own software, which is all online. And when it's got it's called Google Docs. And on Google Docs, they've got like their version of PowerPoint, their version of Word. And when you use it, you can then save it onto an online drive as well. And then you can access it online and print it from there too.
You have to find Google Docs first, which I think is difficult.
Yeah, it's like everything, isn't it? You know, if you don't know, it takes ages to work it out, and then when you've worked it out, it's okay, but it's remembering it then. and then looked obviously for the shadows afterwards, and as I said, there was some quite sharp shadows on this one. See, mine's not quite as subtle as the pencil one, but the form and the shapes have been described using using contouring and lines with the biro. Let's see if I can get that a bit closer so you can see it a bit more. And focus. There we go. So you can see all of the lines that I've used to describe the form a little bit. I could probably go a lot further with that, but it does the job. And you can see around the top here how I've used the lines going around the form and the shape, and the different lines again describing how the curves of the ear go. It's quite a complex image once you start looking at it, but it's a lot of fun to describe the shape using lines and contouring, which obviously you can do with pencil, as you saw earlier. So I'll do a pair of lips that are open next. I found this picture just here. I'm going to use that to as my model, so to speak. Remove the ear for now.
This is the construction marks you're making, Mary.
Yeah, okay. I'll try and darken it down a little bit for you. Just give me a second. This diagram here, you know, if you get the kind of overall construction lines right, then things can, you know, tend to fit in place. Obviously you saw from me doing that I had to still make adjustments and things, and there's more adjustments that I could make as well, but you know, this is the joy of looking at things, really, is that you learn more about them as you do it.
Yeah, I noticed you didn't use your spheres and things on this at all.
No, I didn't know, because I was more concerned with the overall shapes. If I was going to put spheres into this one, I could have done this, or I could have done this, and I could have done one here perhaps as well. But because the spaces between things, it was more beneficial to get these construction lines in, really.
Yeah, and you also have a multi-slice proportion shot.
Say that again, sorry.
You also have the knack of having proportions right.
Yeah.
From the start.
Yeah.
You know, then it will be wider or narrow, and it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Often it's also a case of measuring other things off against each other, and I showed you, didn't I, about using the pencil or the pen to measure the angles off of things as well, and that helped you get things a bit closer in the right, you know, the right angles and things too. And like I said, you know, I mean, I can see now looking at this that my teeth, these teeth on my picture, are slightly narrower than the ones on here as well. So these teeth could actually come down a little bit more at the front. So I'm spotting things even now, but you know, it does take time to sort of you know, every time you do a drawing, it takes a bit of time to get things exactly right, but B, it takes, you know, practice too. I mean, if I got you to do lips for the next 6 weeks of course, you'd probably be better at them by the end of it, I suppose, which is obvious, I suppose. Yeah, no, it's really good. Well, the I'm using here, which is kind of complicated stuff. That's basically different because basically once you use it, it's a permanent, so you can water it again, and you can change it to me. Whereas doing it, so you've got the times on there, they're going to say there. Part of the yeah, that's what I've got here. Yeah, once you put it down, and if I water it again, it'll go back to, yeah, you can move it out again, so yeah. So I'm just adding a little bit of ink, that's what I was going to do, so I was doing it before. That's all. Yeah. Pencil. Yeah. Using light washes rather than really heavy ink, yes. If you're trying to go over it afterwards, with pen or something like that, or you also do that, so that's all good. Right, okay. Is there anything signs? So just waiting in this way. No, I've got the difference. Yes, I've got it. No, actually, put it actually. Yeah, actually line that through my file now. So, again, well.